court now has adjourned there in Pretoria in South Africa, where Oscar Pistorius has been giving his testimony. This particular testimony was focusing on the 13th of February, the day before Reeva Steenkamp was shot and killed. There was a lot of detail surrounding that day, everything beginning from the morning of that day when Oscar Pistorius described where he had to leave early that day to head into Johannesburg to meet a friend, where he also had a meeting which ended around midday. They were talking. He was also talking about the plans that him and Reeva Steenkamp had for that day. She was still in his house in Pretoria. She was staying there, working from his house, and she was going to meet him there that evening, where they were going to have a meal together. I want to bring us our Richard Green, who's been following the trial. He joins us now from London. Richard, if you're there, can you hear me? There you are. Great. So this testimony has been so detailed. Everything from what he did from the moment he left the house that day on the 13th to even from when they were preparing to go to bed that evening. It's incredibly detailed, this testimony. Why?
Well, Monita, you're right. This has been a practically minute-by-minute account of what Oscar Pistorius did from the minute that he got home, about 6 o'clock. So we're talking about 9 hours before he killed Reeva Steenkamp.
Now, Oscar Pistorius has maintained that he thought Reeva Steenkamp was an intruder in his house. There has always been question, or he has always said, he's always felt very vulnerable, and also because of the crime rates he talked about yesterday's testimony in South Africa, where he had often felt a victim of crime in South Africa. That said, that night they also talked about the security system in his house, the security system that he had put in place, and they even went into detail in terms of, I guess, the blinds in his room, just to show how dark it was as well.
That's right, and it was interesting. If you listen to this testimony, Oscar Pistorius was extremely fluent about details, which I have to say, if you were to ask me, or I would guess if you were to see him without his prosthetics on, I think that's going to be a very, very dramatic moment in the trial.
Yeah, the interesting thing, he also did say that he did go into the bathroom before going to bed to brush his teeth without his prosthetics on at that particular moment. So how long are we expected, Oscar Pistorius, to continue on with his testimony today?
The court keeps a very regular schedule. We're actually only about 20 minutes away from a scheduled lunch break, which normally lasts an hour, and then
Richard,
they do another
thank
hour.
you very much for that. Richard Green there in London. Well, let's get some more analysis on this. CNN legal analyst Kelly Phelps, who is outside the courthouse in Pretoria, joins us now. So we're just a couple of minutes left into this short adjournment there in the court, Kelly. So we expect to go back, and what happens? What kind of testimony are we expecting to hear after this particular adjournment?
Well, really, we've stopped at a bit of a cliffhanger, because what we're expecting to go to now is the most crucial part of his testimony, which is what happened and what was in his mind in the moment.
We'll take a lunch adjournment. Court will adjourn.
Court has now adjourned for lunch in Pretoria in the case in Oscar Pistorius's murder trial. Gripping testimony there from the Olympic and Paralympic athlete who took the stand and to explain the events of the day before on the 13th of February, and then, of course, as we just heard, gripping testimony there explaining what happened in the early hours of the 14th of February, the day Reeva Steenkamp was shot and killed.